Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece. The bigger a show is, the bigger the chances of a video game adaptation. And yet, there are shows that are so big that you have to wonder, why isn't anyone making these games? Well, the answer is, maybe they are. I made this exact video last year, and since then, 4 of the anime I mentioned became video games. Jujutsu Kaisen, Hunter x Hunter, One Punch Man, and Spy Family. So I'm thinking this could become something of a yearly tradition, because even if a third of my list becomes real, then it's a win for everyone. Now, I could just name every anime ever, that's an easy list to make, so I'll shorten this down to only 10 titles, giving you an old-fashioned top 10. These are the anime that I think need a video game adaptation in 2024, a console video game adaptation that is, as some of these already have mobile. And we'll start strong at number 10 with Mashle. I can't believe you can actually make a Harry Potter game without having to pay J.K. Rowling a cent in licensing. This sounds like the ultimate licensing life hack. There's a Hogwarts, there's spell lessons, there's even a Dumbledore, they have Quidditch for crying out loud. With a Mashle game, you could go a couple of different routes. The safe route is just to make an action RPG. Follow the events of the story, playing as Mash, the main character. But if you really want to take full advantage of the IP, you go the Hogwarts Legacy route and make a prequel before Mash was even a factor. You make character creation so players can make a wizard that goes to school and actually learns magic. Doing well in different activities awards you different medals, which you need to earn in order to become the Hokage, the Divine Visionary. Sorry, I just started watching the show. And I've actually been watching it with today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by Raycon. Last year, I had 2 big trips, Summer Games Fest in LA and UFA 2023 in Paris. I traveled alone to both events, so my best friends were these guys. With 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery life, I know they will last the entire trip. They won't run out while I'm searching for the hotel, and it will be a lot more pleasant if I'm just listening to music the whole way through. I still remember exactly the soundtrack I was playing during my UFA trip, the entire discography of Deftones. 2024, and they're still the GOATs. And especially if you're traveling with bags and whatnot and your hands are full with other stuff, they're incredibly useful because both your buds are also buttons that you can tap. So you can pause music or switch between different sound profiles, and nowadays I find myself switching a lot between noise isolation or awareness mode, because I gotta make sure I can hear the baby. All of that without having to pull off my phone and mess around with it, because the buttons are right there. The Raycons have changed my life for the better, so I definitely recommend them. If you want to get your own pair, click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/Globku. Right now, they are offering a 20% discount plus free shipping if you buy using my link down below. No time like the present. Thank you, Raycon, for sponsoring this video. Game number 9 is Oshi No Ko. Now for this anime, most of you would probably think rhythm game. Make something kind of simple using the songs from the show, add some visual novel elements, done. But I think we can go further. Because even though Ai is the poster girl for this show, once you watch the whole season, you realize it's actually all about this guy. And without spoiling why, he plays the role of a detective, trying to find out who committed a certain crime, and to do so, he fakes his way into different positions. He fakes it into the movie industry, the TV industry, the music industry, all trying to get to the culprit. Almost like a certain bald assassin who happens to be a video game icon. Hitman! Get IO Interactive on this! I want to see their take on an anime game, and I think this one would be perfect. Well, actually, I think Spy Family would be perfect, but they went a different route. So this is all I have left. I don't want to die without seeing IO Interactive working on an anime game. I want to see what that looks like. Or maybe I've just been too obsessed with Hitman lately. But now is the best time to do it, since they are an independent studio. They used to be owned by Square Enix, who is still sitting on the license for our number 8, Fullmetal Alchemist. A couple of years ago, Square remembered that they still have this license and they launched Fullmetal Alchemist Mobile in Japan only. I thought it was a cool game with a really awful gacha curve, super grindy, super greedy. And so, not even 2 years after its initial release, Square is shutting it down. This was their first Fullmetal Alchemist game since 2009, and it didn't even last a couple of years. It's time to let it go, Square. Give that license to someone who will do it justice. I think we've all craved a solid action RPG for a while, or a game where you can create your own alchemist and take on missions around the world. Fullmetal Alchemist is timeless. It's always a good time to make a Fullmetal Alchemist game. At number 7, we have a newcomer, Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. And out of all the video game ideas I'm sharing today, this one is my personal favorite. First of all, open world. It doesn't have to be a huge open world, but it needs some detail. It needs buildings that you can enter and completely full of zombies. Think more Dead Rising open world and less Days Gone open world. Gameplay-wise, I wouldn't focus on combat at all, but more on movement, running away from zombies, climbing stuff, and using distractions to circumvent them. And instead of making it story-driven following the anime, give us an actual list with 100 objectives on it. 100 things you have to do in order to complete the game, and you can do them in any order using different methods, so no two playthroughs will ever be the same. You can even add permadeath, because even if you have to start over, the more you play the game, the more you get to know the city. So even if you die, you are still progressing. Because knowing the city means you complete the objectives faster, and with this blueprint, you can create so many different ways of playing. You can add custom challenges, higher difficulties, or even speedrunning. If you can truly do all the things in any order and using different methods, there might be ways to tackle 3 or 4 objectives at once in the same spot, and watching the community figure that out would be awesome. I'm a relatively new fan of Zom 100, but I think I love this video game idea even more than the show itself. At number 6, Attack on Titan. I'm getting tired of saying this, so this is probably the final year I'll say it. What is Koei doing sitting on this license? I have no idea. The anime just ended, so unless they have been cooking something up for a while now, there's no more hope. This is it, the final year that you can make something big with Attack on Titan. After this, it will always be remembered as one of the greats, I think, but an investment in a video game might just not be as big anymore. Because ultimately, video games are seen as marketing for the shows, and if the show isn't live, what are you marketing? And I was watching last year's version of this video where I obviously mentioned Attack on Titan, and back then I said that there was a VR game in development. Dude, a year later, not only do we not have a release date, they still haven't shown us anything except that pre-rendered not gameplay trailer. I don't know what's happening there, but it doesn't sound good. So hey, Koei, if you're cooking something, now's the time. Speaking of last chances, Haikyuu is wrapping things up too. The manga has been over for a while and the anime is gonna wrap up with 2 movies. The first one is coming out very soon, so this is our final chance for a big Haikyuu game. I've said it before, but I'm a big fan of how they adapted Captain Tsubasa into game form. It had a decent mix of football and over-the-top power moves, so I'd love to see the same for something like Haikyuu. I'd even love for the same developers to take it, if they could figure out online and maybe learn a thing or two about game balance, because Tsubasa was a broken mess. At number 4, we have Death Note. Now, in last year's video, I said that Death Note has been over for a while. Chances are we're not getting another Death Note game at all. And it's true, I don't think we'll get a big investment in the Death Note game. But also, we started 2024 with a Hunter x Hunter and an Avatar fighting game announced, so I'm bringing Death Note back into the table. Over the years, I thought a lot about what a Death Note game could be. It's not a simple anime to make a game for. But after a few years of pondering, I think I finally found the answer. Multiplayer spy game. Hear me out. If you find the Death Note, what's the one thing you need in order to do the murder? That's right, you need to find people's names. Now let's say you're in a lobby with other players. One of those players has the Death Note. You don't know who that is. You might suspect it's the guy walking around asking what your mother called you at birth, and maybe there's another player who is a detective in the lobby. A detective that you could report that guy to, or maybe the Death Note guy will bluff and try to get close to that detective and actually get innocent people locked up as he tries to find out what the detective's name is. If this is done right, I think it could go absolutely viral. It could be the next Among Us, who knows? But you know what's a popular game? Among Us, I just said it. But also FIFA, or EA Sports FC, I guess. Part of it because of all the loot boxes, card packs, sure, but the games also sell millions of copies by themselves. And Blue Lock can not only be a traditional football game, it can be an arcade football game too. You know how you have those training minigames in FIFA? Well, what if you made them way more exaggerated, way more over the top, and make them multiplayer with each player controlling one character? Now imagine you have so many of these minigames that you could make a series of minigame events knocking out a few players at a time, until one of them wins the whole thing. I am basically suggesting a mix between FIFA and Fall Guys, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say, but here we are, and somehow this sounds like something I want to play. At number 2, Bleach. I feared this would become a yearly thing. Just me sitting here asking, where's Bleach? But turns out maybe this is the year, because since the last video, Shueisha has filed a trademark for Bleach Rebirth of Souls. Now there's no confirmation whether this is going to be a mobile or a console game. After all, if the game was announced, it wouldn't be on this list. But since there is another mobile game in development right now, which is Soul Resonance, yeah, that's not going to get confusing at all. I think the chances that Rebirth of Souls being a console game are actually pretty high. And Bleach has always been one of those versatile IP that could be pretty much any genre. Open world with character creation, arena fighter, single player hack and slash, action RPG, fighting game. Genre isn't as important to me with this one, I just want it to be good. Because Bleach has seen too many mid-games. It still hasn't gotten the game in the series that it deserves, in my opinion. There's still time until they wrap up the 1000-Year Blood War arc, so let's hope they finally deliver. And the easiest slam dunk of an anime game is still Chainsaw Man. From the manga alone, we knew this series would be popular, so if you're a publisher, you've already been developing a Chainsaw Man game for the last 3 or 4 years, right? Even if that's not the case, we're only 1 season into Chainsaw Man. This show is going to be around for a while, so if you're cooking something, make sure it's well done by the time you put it out. And this is the one game where I will say that an arena fighter would actually be cool. Or a fighting game, I'm down for that obviously, but we know how anime games love arena fighters. There are so many unique characters with unique powers in this show that you can really design a hype roster with unique playstyles for this. I'd say this is a job for biking, but after JJK, I don't know anymore. Maybe give it to A+ Games. That is if they still want to work in branded games. Kill la Kill If sounds like it was traumatizing. But those are 10 anime that need a video game adaptation in 2024. A quick shout out to Kagurabachi. The manga has been popping off, and there is an anime adaptation on the way. I'd say it definitely needs a game, but maybe not this year. I'll save it for the 2025 video. And also shout outs to Raycon. Go to buyraycon.com/Globku for 20% off anything you want to buy, link in the description. And if you want to watch some real upcoming video games, here's the latest trailer on the Demon Slayer board game, which heavily hints at Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles 2. Trust me, give that a look if you like the arena fighter. Thanks for watching. Bye.